we stopped, we took about 3-4 days, we visited friends.
No, we got
down
we
on
ordered
the way,
5:15.
but mostly we fought. In the beginning, we stayed there.
We actually went back down.
Yes, we get our-
We let some yeah, 2 doors.
We'll look at the forecast, it's 10:30 in the morning on Tuesday or Wednesday. It says around, so let's go, we got up at 4:00.
Have a good day.
By 7.
Okay, take care. Okay, I think we are, this is all new.
This is.
Hopefully this
Take care of
works.
yourself.
Okay.
Andre?
Nice to see you in person.
I just need to get, I just really get the sheets from the office.
You want a picture, I think. Put a picture.
In the bulk there.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
I have no idea. We're on Zoom. The shear is also on Zoom. But I think the rabbi likes to talk to himself.
Christmas baskets and all that stuff. Bring him to Andre. Oh, that's what he would do it.
Makes sense.
Hi.
I mean, we literally have, I've run out of room. We have over, I would say, over 6 dozen.
Yeah, when you get baskets like that.
I mean, I give the salamis to Joanne. We also get.
Yeah.
So I can't, what?
Not yet. So maybe I'll talk about that.
Yeah. They know.
Yeah, there's nothing Tuesday,
And they know
right?
I'm gonna cheat. He's, I think he joined the union now.
Seriously?
Right.
Yes. Let's try this.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's where we left off, we were up to Dalit in Resh and Hay. Okay, sitting over there. Yeah, that's the down too. Yeah, alcohol use. So the last thing you mentioned, jog everyone's memory. Last week we had talked about what happens if, let's say, one doesn't recall, one doesn't make a Tanai at the beginning of the business partnership, now you have a problem with regards to Shabbos, as we talked about. So we talked about the tikkun, about how you return it, but it can't be a fake sale or a fake returning of the property, item or whatever it is. It has to be a true sale in reverse, and then a new partnership is formed or something like that. So that was what we talked about last time, and now we talk about something. It still relates to the idea of being partners, but it may not be necessarily classic. We are co-owners of the business, and we sort of do the exact same thing. There may be a partnership here, but one person does the work, and the other person sits in the ivory tower. it's that kind of a partnership. I was trying to draw a very stark contrast between the two partners. So don't. All I'm trying to say is don't put yourself in the frame of mind that they're both have their hands on on the avoda in a very they have different kind of position. Just keep that in mind. So here we go. We're up to Dalit, and welcome back, John. It's good to see John back in the fold. And here we go. Yochol Yisrael litain la'eno Yehudi, ma'os lehisasek b'hem. V'afal pisha la'eno Yehudi nosim b'hem b'shabbos. Cholek imo kol hasachar b'shavah. Itnei she'en melacha zon muteles al Yisrael la'asos. Shenomar she'eno Yehudi oseh shlichuso v'chein ein ha'esek nikar pnimah. So the Shulchan Aruch here says that it is totally fine. A Jew can give money to a non-Jew to invest. He's asking for him to do business with. I give you, here, take the $100,000, do something. Ultimately, I want the $100,000 to turn into $200,000. And obviously, you as the partner, worker, but not exactly like a worker. That's what I'm saying. It's not exactly like you're simply, I'm giving you a salary. This is like, do something with it. You also are investing in it. You get a percentage of it. People all do this all the time. They're investing other people's money, and they get a percentage of that money, whatever. Hopefully, they make some money. So even though the non-Jew takes the money, turns around, and does business with on Shabbos, I didn't tell him to do that, right? I told him make me money. I didn't tell you when to make me money, how to make me money. Maybe I told you how, but not when to make me money. So you can split the profits equally, however you arrange it, 70, 30, 50, 50, whatever the arrangement is, it is fine to split it as is. You don't have to start shaving off a seventh because you did the work on Shabbos also. He started to do things on Shabbos with that money. Why? Because the malacha that's done with the money, right? There's money and then there's a malacha. So the money that's done with the malacha that's done with the money is not mutelas al Yisrael. It doesn't get attributed back. Nobody's thinking, this guy's working for, that this malacha was sort of commissioned by the Jew, right? Or that this investment was commissioned by, he gave the money. He didn't tell him, do this malacha. He didn't tell him how at all to make the $100,000 to $150,000. So that nobody will say, nobody's going to say the non-Jew is a shaliach of the Jew, right? He obviously is working with him. There's no doubt about that. But that he did the work on Shabbos, the non-Jew made that choice. Exactly how the business, what he did with it, probably was also somewhat the choice of the non-Jew. So then, so number one, he's not a shaliach. And also he's an invested person. The more he makes, the more the 100,000 turns into a larger number, the more that non-Jew makes. So he has his own incentives here to work as often as possible, to make the right investments, and if the right deal comes up on Shabbos, so it's in his best interest, not just in the Jew's interest, to make that deal on Shabbos.
Is it true for salaries too?
What do you mean?
So I'm the owner of the business, and I have employees, and I own a store, and I want them to work on Shabbos. Pay them a salary. It's not an investment.
So they're right. They're under my shaliach when it comes to the malacha. Right.
Well, it's the same thing. I'm sitting in the ivory tower. I'm just paying them, instead of paying them a percentage of the profits, I'm paying them a fixed percentage. I'm paying them a salary. So
You're ignoring the nation. Ein melacha zu mutelas al Yisrael asosa.
Right.
Once you're becoming more active. Like I was thinking that we need this so that we can buy some shares of AT&T. We need this. What about a piece of real estate where the Jew is the 100% owner and he's not doing anything? He's got a manager for the building or something.
It's different.
So that's what I asked, so like that
So if he's a salaried employee, where let's say he doesn't have any incentive, meaning like the better that the business does, the salary is still the same.
Well, if I pay him on an hourly basis instead of on a salary
But
basis.
it's still the same.
Still the same in the
He doesn't have a
sense that
share of the profits.
Yeah, he said the key here that the Shulchan Aruch has definitely described, even before this, was that if there's no reva, meaning obviously the worker gets paid, there's no question. But in the actual guf hamalacha, in the actual action that was done, so let's use the example, the one that the Shulchan Aruch uses a little back, right? You have a field and you have produce in the field. If the worker is not taking, he's not a sharecropper, or he's not taking the portion of the actual malacha home, right? The actual harvested, you might cut 100 bushels of wheat, and he took 30 home, even the minority. Then that's okay, because the more that you do, the more that you get. Whereas when you're a salaried worker, right? So there, the whole malacha is associated and attributed to the Jew. Oh, I get paid. And when I cut the wheat, so that malacha that really belongs to the Jew. That he turns around and pays me some salary, that's sort of a separate action. We're looking at, is the malacha, as in the Shulchan Aruch, is it mutelas al Yisrael? If it's mutelas al Yisrael, and the non-Jew is doing it, essentially as my shaliach, then it's a problem. If the non-Jew is incentivized to do it on his own, because he has his own, let's say, again, he's a sharecropper, so the more he harvests, the more he takes home of the actual profits, then that is when it's permissible.
I don't see it. I don't see it in the sense of an hourly worker, because if he works the extra hour, he'll make more money. So
Right.
even though he's not getting the profits, he's benefiting by, so that's where I'm having the problem. The hourly, I agree, if it's a salary, you pay the guy, $100 a day, whether he works or not, fine, I get it. But if you're paying him $10 an hour, and if he works 5 hours, he gets $50. If he works 10 hours on job, you get 100. Then it's sort of like a profit kind of a thing.
2 points in response. So one is that if you have if that person wants, they can over 7 hours produce the same over 5 hours. But you could have a situation where actually the extra hours aren't producing anymore. And therefore there's no extra incentive to work. The idea of the sharecropper of the aris is that the more that they work, it directly benefits their pockets. The second point, not mine. The second.
It sounds like you're doing a haroma now. I have to agree.
You're a
with
job.
Sean.
A worker at.
Yeah. So the other thing is that simply you have to think about, does the malacha that is taking place, is the malacha, is this on behalf of the Jew? And if the answer to that question is yes, so then we have a problem. So when you have a sharecropper situation where certainly the Jew is going to get some, maybe even the majority of the profits of whatever happens. But if the non-Jew is incentivized to get more for, again, putting aside the hours of work, but the actual, because there you're getting the money afterwards. The actual malacha that's happening, that's being done solely on the Jew. I get 100% of that. If I then turn around and give you some, that's my own, but I wasn't part of our deal. In the goof of the malacha, is there incentive for the non-Jew to get a portion of it? If the answer is yes, aris, let's say the case of aris, then the answer is it's okay. If not, then the actual malacha, the non-Jew was a shaliach on that malacha. That would happen on Shabbos.
I'll let it go. Let's move on.
I have a dry cleaning store and I have an employee and I say, stay till 6 o'clock instead of 5 today. Nobody comes in between 5 and 6. It doesn't matter to the worker, but if it's the worker's decision to stay because he's a partner and he may get some extra money if somebody walks in, it's a big difference.
And by the way, so I'll add just what Linda said, also the arrangement must be that I'm not forcing you to work on Shabbos. If you show up to my field on Shabbos and do this, then it's okay. I can't commission you to say, do it on, in fact, we're gonna talk about this in this case in just a second here, when you invest the money. If I tell the guy to invest the money on Shabbos, make the deal, there's a deal on Shabbos, that's the day of the market, let's say,
So,
brought up here. So I say, go to the market and make the deal with that money, then it's a problem. Because if I tell you to do something on Shabbos, it can't happen. So it has to be where the situation is that it's on their own initiative that they go out and work. So hopefully it helped a little bit. Is that? So Kibolas also will be helpful because again, like the dry cleaner, I didn't tell you anything about shirt work. But I'm cleaning on Saturday. I don't think. Clean on Sunday, Monday.
if you bring it in Friday, it's fair.
The request that has to be done on Saturday.
Saturday night.
That's 100% right. Yeah, you can't.
That's not allowed.
So I think you answered my question. So if a person, if I was a boss and I said, okay, the Jews will work on Sunday, work on Monday, work on Saturday, but you answered something that I was surprised, is that if they make the decision to work there, then it doesn't go upon me as a sin.
Right, correct. Yeah, that they make their own decision, that's their own business, exactly. And the second thing he says here, in regards to the money, nobody knows. Some guy invested, in this company.
You don't have to.
This relates to stocks, by the way. In fact, Rav Moshe, cited here in his Biurim, the Dirshu. This is a big deal with regards to investing. How can you invest in a company and they do business on Shabbos? You're going to make all this profit. So, how does it make any sense? So they're in the business of something that Trefos and Velos. Yeah, Velo, I guess it's motor. But how do you explain this? So he writes here. So you could view this the second way as well. That the Kobo, one of the Rishonim, the Beis Yosef makes reference to this. Doesn't cite it here, but in his work, the Beis Yosef, he cites the Kobo, who says that maybe the other reason that it's okay for a non-Jew to invest, for a Jew to invest money in with a non-Jew, even though he's going to do maybe do some business on Shabbos with it, is because it's like giving, it's like a steer's kalim. I'm not allowed to rent out my my pots or my pans, for a week, and then you use my pot or pan for Shabbos. Nobody will tell you that's problematic. There's no fee of shvisas kalim. Your kalim don't have to observe Shabbos. So maybe you could say that the money, he says here, maybe the money is like kalim. The money is just it's like my pot or my pan or whatever. Okay, that's the Kobo's explanation here. Now, putting that aside, that's the second reason. It's not cited in the Shulchan Aruch. He says so here, I'm going to quote now. The liknos minios the chever shel nokrim ha'avodas b'Shabbos. So if you, let's say, buy stock in a company, it's a non-Jewish company, in terms of who really runs the work, who's the CEO, who's the doing that stuff, and they function on Shabbos as well. It's on 6 days a week. So Kosav B'Shelos Shulos Ikros Moshe Shemoter. It's motor to invest in such a company. If you Liknos says Rogan Yosef, you want to be the majority shareholder, fine too. Shekevan Shanoch you Baal Malacha, because again it's about the Malacha. Who makes the call in a company? And if you're let me just knock the X over there. Here? Yeah. There you go. Thank you. Okay. Since the who's in charge? Who's in charge of the work when it happens? I'm not just a shareholder. I'm the majority shareholder. Who makes the calls in a business like that? The CEO, exactly. He's not Jewish. He says you're the majority shareholder. You have a say. People have to listen to you, right? So he says. So this is nefsho hadavar karisus. This is like a sharecropper. The kablonos and like the situation of Kablan, because the CEO is incentivized
Contractor.
Yeah, exactly. The CEO has full incentive here because the more that the company makes, the more he makes. He probably is also investing in some ways. It's a Jewish, managed company. So also then, technically my investing is not really problematic because I'm not the one who's telling him to do business on Shabbos. It's a Marisayan concern. This is what Rav Moshe said. More interesting though, he says the Hosei Shafim Yishvu Ba'al HaEsek the Dato Shel Yisrael Ba'al HaMenios U'Latzoso but you're the majority shareholder. Come to you, you come to them and you give them advice. You're a god or a rabbi in this company in terms of how they have to listen to you. At the end of the day, though, it's still mutter, he says. How come? They don't listen to you like you're a CEO, because you're not the CEO. You're a person who's giving strong recommendations. At the end of the day, who makes the call? The CEO makes the call. I understand you're going to say, come on, the CEO understands he has to pay homage to. But at the end of the day, the shareholder, the stockholder is not necessarily the expert in the business and doesn't make the actual call as well. I understand that maybe there's pressure. But at the end of the day, Moshe claims that you're not the Baal of Malacha, and they make the final call into what happens. They don't have to listen to you at all. And certainly not a way to tell them to do something on Shabbos.
When you have a non-Jewish CEO.
Yeah,
Right, so what happens if you're Jewish?
What happens if you have a Jewish CEO? What level of the organization?
It doesn't even be okay.
So
Meaning if he thinks here that if it's a Chaver Shel Yisrael that again he's saying Iraqi Nikar Shechaver Shel Yisrael he Asur Hadavar Mishum Maris Ayin. Chaver Shel Yisrael.
So any Israeli company?
That's what I was thinking.
Right, so I don't know.
So you can't buy stock in
According to the
Israeli
Rav Moshe,
company.
first of all, according to Rav Moshe, I don't know if everyone will agree with Rav Moshe.
Legally, a corporation is a separate entity.
Yeah.
So that's how you get around it in Israel. It's not.
It's not owned by an individual. Right.
It's a
Ah,
separate
but
legal
they're
entity.
employees. The whole thing starts today, Yisrael and an Eino Yehudi.
Doesn't matter.
It's true.
So what do you do if the other guy is not an not an Eino Yehudi, but a Yehudi?
Right.
And the employees are 99.9% Jews, except for the one Muslim guy that parks the cars.
So it's I have to ask a real interesting shaila here about that. But I think when it comes to investing, let's say you're investing in a mutual fund, they have stuff invested all over. You have no idea. Actually, Rav Moshe himself writes it's another tshuva. You have no idea where the money is. You're so not involved at all.
But that's only
Also-
is good for the Messiah issue. What about the actual issue of during that are also on Shabbat?
That's the problem of the Jew here. Again, is the investor. I'm not telling him to do. I didn't tell him take my money and do business with it on Shabbos. In fact, I even said the opposite. But at the very least, I didn't say that. And if they turn around and take the money that I invested into the company and then use it on Shabbos, well, Rav Moshe doesn't like it because it looks like a little bit of a Marisayan situation here. There's, maybe a Jewish company that does business on Shabbos and then a Jew invests in that. So he doesn't like it. But
It's not right. Look, in Eretz Israel, there are people that disconnect from the electric grid on Shabbos.
Right.
You're aware of it? Okay. Why are they doing that? Because the people that work for the electric company are Jewish and they're doing work on Shabbos.
Right. Yeah. So I hear you. This has spurred
Also,
me.
I
The question
guess
is
we wrote this, that motion in the 50s and the 60s. Investing now is completely
Very
different
different.
than the way you
don't
in
even.
the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, 100%. Here, I think he's also talking about
Say that on a lot of things.
Go
Go back to the 30s.
right? He says the Chaver shall not pay. They go over to the non-Jewish business, and I say, I want to invest in your business. Oh, okay. It's like more like Shark Tank, Shark Tank. You buy 15% of my business for this much, and you'll be part of it, So let's say, you have like Mark Cuban, he buys 60% of it. He's Jewish, and Mark Cuban says, I'm going to buy 60% of this company. And I guess Mark Cuban is allowed to say that, but the point is that, like, let's say, they're the people here are the experts who come in front of these sharks. They're the experts in their business. They help them with like some of the other stuff, the advertising, the production. They don't want to get involved in that. So that if it's a non-Jewish, that person comes up on Shark Tank, they're not Jewish. So have a Jew invest in that. So that's fine. And he wants to do production on Saturdays. I'm gonna help him with getting the PR out. That's completely fine. That's what he's talking about here. Steve's right that the investing that we do today, when we invest in the stock market, we are so disconnected. In fact, Moshe writes this, that, you're so, that's why, what about your stocks that you own on Pesach? Let's say you have a stock by, in a food company, in a mutual fund.
You're getting Hanah, which is
So he says
specifically.
So he says that you're totally disconnected from what do you have in your stock? You have a piece of paper, essentially. It says that you are entitled to X. You don't have any say in the business. You have no, that's what you have when you're a small stockholder. And anything you write there, you're a much bigger, investor in one of these companies, you own Chametz on case, then he says maybe you have to think twice. But it's an interesting question. I think Steve's right that investing today is very different. Yeah.
If you have a CEO.
Yeah.
That is one manager. Gets to the point where he has to retire.
Yeah.
A new CEO comes in with Jewish. What happens?
The rules would change, so I think would change. We'd have to reevaluate the situation. It would necessarily be able to do it.
Yeah.
All depends if he's making money for you or not.
Let's take a look.
With Mars Lane.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the Ramon and we'll look at the Mishnah Berurah. So he writes here, so what are we talking about? What's the situation when it's okay to give him money? When the non-Jew does a loan, that's a little partnership. The non-Jew takes the money alone and he starts doing the purchasing, the business, the investing, whatever. Of course, if it's, everyone, and we're talking about the case, guys, of the Jew takes this day and the non-Jew takes that day of the business. If that's the kind of situation we're dealing with, then now the money that I gave him, he took it and invested it on Shabbos, because that's his day. So now I have to produce a business connected, in place of what he did on Saturday. It's now the whole arrangement. Forget who did what. The arrangement is that on Saturdays you're my shaliach, because you're doing my part of the business on Saturdays. I take care of you on Sundays. I'm your shaliach on Sundays, etc. So then I've set up a situation here where the non-Jewish partner is the shaliach in the business on Saturday, because he's taking care of everything. I do Sundays, so you do Saturdays. That means you're my shaliach for Saturdays, because I got your back on Sundays. Our business is open because I do your work on Sundays and you do my work on Saturdays. It's not like the case of where everyone works every day and then I say, look, I'm happy to be closed on Saturday. You want to open the business and run it? This is it. I'm running the business. Right? It's all on you, right? Here we're talking about you've made the non-Jewish shaliach because you've made a deal. That's when it's prohibited. Then you can't tell, give the guy money and he invests it on Shabbos, and then his investing on Shabbos becomes more problematic because he's their shaliach. You can tell him to invest on Shabbos, but his doing that is problematic because he's my shaliach.
I thought we learned that was mutar.
If they work together all the time, they don't view the business as you do this day, I do that day. Then when it comes to Saturday and the Jew says, look, I'm out, like my Sabbath. And so as far as I'm concerned, we can close the business. I don't need to get involved with this at all. And the non-Jew says, I want to keep it open. I want to make more money. And the Jew ends up benefiting because of that. That's fine. Because that's adaita the nafshe. And there's no shlichus in that situation.
What if the Jew says, okay, and you go take a vacation on Wednesdays. I'll run the business completely on Wednesdays. If you do that lechatchila,
if you do the tonight from the beginning,
my understanding
that's
was
correct.
that's good.
Yeah, we're dealing with no tonight.
Oh, okay.
No time. If there was a time from the beginning, so you removed your whole name from Shabbos and you were never involved in Shabbos, nothing to do with Shabbos, then it's fine. Yeah, no, very good point. Excellent. So let's look at the Mishnah Berurah here. Tez Zayin, Yud Zayin, Yud Tes. Tez Zayin says that this is talking about the beginning there that the Malach is not Mutelas al Yisrael. Sheim Hayam Mutelas alav Asur Midim. Obviously, if the work is attributable to the Jew, again, we're a Tez Zayin down below. If the work is attributable to the Jew, then by the letter of the law it is actually prohibited because this is classic halacha being done by a non-Jew that a Jew couldn't do. That is awesome to do a bomb. I understand that, but that is the whole issue of Amir al-Mahmoud. As we talked about, Moshe Kassan, the Sivalch in low hisna shos. There's no stipulation. There's no tonight. Tonight, we're talking about a situation. Okay, Yud Zayin, Shano Marva Kulei, Mishum. This is talking about the end that you can't say that the non-Jew is a shaliach of the Jew. It says Verotalon, Mishum Maris Ayin Shiom Habrios Shainu Yisero Hu Leka Gamke. And there's no Maris Ayin concern that will say, oh, this guy is a worker of the Jew. Why not? Sorry, I skipped one, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mishum Mefsik is Skar Shabbos Leka, so there's no Skar Shabbos. I'll come back to that in a second. There's no Skar Shabbos because the Hari Huba Havla. So again, you avoid the whole problem of Skar Shabbos of earning a direct profit or wage or something or a payment that you have to make on Shabbos. Business directly on Shabbos is prohibited. So but if it's the Havla in a larger it's a larger group, so you're paying by the week or the hour, or you're making the profits. You don't open the cash register at the end of the week, and then you're splitting up the profits. That's okay. There's no Schar Shabbos involved in that. And he says, take a look in the Shin Zayin, Sif Gimel and Dalet, what he writes over there, which if you take it, you don't have it, but I'll just briefly make allusion to this. So in Shin Zayin, Gimel, he writes, also retain the Eno Yehudi Mos Erev Shabbos Liknos Lo Shabbos. You're not allowed to give money to a non-Jew Erev Shabbos to make a purchase on Shabbos. You could buy things for yourself. Take my money, you can buy things for yourself. It's not my business. And if I want, so after Shabbos, so there's a little bit of trickery, but we'll take a little bit of deals when we get there. After Shabbos, if I'm interested, maybe I'll want to purchase something from you. But purchase. Right? I know you went to this, you got a bunch of stuff. Maybe I'll be interested. Maybe not. We'll see. And the other thing he says here is that it's mutter to give money to a non-Jew Erev Shabbos to purchase stam. I'll give you something Friday 4:00. I didn't tell you to do it on Shabbos. Stam. I want you to purchase them. He goes, I don't need that until now. Your visible Yomar Lo Knei Shabbos. This person do it on Shabbos. He does it on Shabbos because that's what he wants to do. Better for his schedule. That's his own business. So, so he's again here just making allusion to the importance of not telling them directly on Shabbos to do something. That's always a problem.
Well, you have the shlichus issue.
Exactly, because the moment you say do this on Shabbos, now there's a shlichus aspect that relates directly to Shabbos. You cannot direct a non-Jew to do something that you can't do on Shabbos. Again, there are some notable exceptions, and we will get to those in due time. Okay, Yudches, B'chein Ein Esek Nikar Mehu. The people won't exactly know who's even gave some money to this guy to invest. Nobody knows the whole arrangement in the background. So wrote along with the Mishum Maris Ayin Shilom Ayin. The concern about Maris Ayin Shilom Habriel, people will say, he's steerable. Oh, this non-Jewish guy, he works for that Jew. No, exactly. That's not a concern we have here. The hello, nobody knows it. Whose business, this transaction is because of this guy. Nobody has any idea. There's no business, here that if it was attributable to the Jew, problem. Moshe Kassan and Reish Mem Gimel Gabi the Nerfas. Remember, there's the Jewish-owned bathhouse, and then you say, "Oh, I'm going to be master of the business. I'm selling you the business. I have nothing to do with it." And the guy who runs it on Shabbos, that's not allowed because people will think, because on the outside it says Cohen's bathhouse. But Cohen doesn't, he has nothing to do. He sold the business for that week. Doesn't matter. It says Cohen's bathhouse, or even if it doesn't say Cohen's bathhouse, everyone knows Cohen owns that bathhouse. But here we're talking about I gave you money. I gave the non-Jew money, and take this, invest it, and make me double. Okay, nobody has no idea.
Unless the non-Jew is managing investments exclusively for this Jewish family, managing a family office.
So right, the moment it's Nikar that it's this guy, when he does things, it's on behalf of the
The Pritzker family.
exactly. you fill in your classic Jewish name. Yeah, so then it becomes problematic because everyone knows this guy essentially works on behalf of, so and so. Yeah, okay, he gets a cut of the profits if he has like an arias, like a sharecropper, but then at least you have to deal with the possible concern because a sharecropper doesn't work in the bathhouse either because again of the Marisayan concern. People will assume the majority of those times that the person is a worker, and that's where the Marisayan concern comes in.
So all these Jewish law firms like Jacoby and Myers are in trouble when one of their employees in San Francisco goes in the office to do some work on Shabbos.
So the question is,
Why would that be a
why would that be a problem?
Because they have their names on it, and there's a Marisayan issue.
So the things,
Person's going into the office to work on his own.
right?
Doing
Meaning,
work
I would say that
done
it's
on
as I did not should mean that they make their own. Jacoby and Myers didn't tell the guy to work or the man in the room to come in and do work on Saturday.
You whip out these are on this boy.
It may be that there isn't, the bigger concern may be that they give it so much work that they have to work on Shabbos. If that's the case, then it is us.
I should rent out my name.
What was that?
I should rent out my name.
That's great. We just realized it. That's fabulous. You have no Marisayan issue.
There you go.
We call Makom, he continues here. We call Makom, Kosa Eno Mutter Elikish Shalo Yomar Eno Yudi. Again, this is most important rule here. Nevertheless, all this is only okay if you so long as you do not explicitly tell the non-Jew to do the work on Shabbos. Ella Sha'ena who did the Atzma Osake, the non-Jew decides on his own to do this on Shabbos. Then the commercial custom to Ein Zeb Hey, we'll see in just a moment. That is okay.
Hold on, just wanted to make sure I have something clear. So I own a law firm, right? I run a law firm. I'm a partner in the law firm.
Press the button.
I'm a partner in the law firm, and I have non-Jewish associates. Okay. And something comes in Friday afternoon, and the client wants it, Sunday morning or Sunday, whatever. I can or cannot tell the non-Jewish associate to do the work on Shabbos.
You can tell the non-Jewish associate the work has to get done.
Yeah, you can.
And you figure out how to get it done between now and Sunday morning.
Excuse me.
It could be done Saturday night.
Excuse me, right, I have a son who's a lawyer and and my husband, they start working right after Havdalah. And they'll.
I understand, but I'm talking about non-Jewish.
So long as it's possible.
No, but that's the non-Jews' choice. I have a party day all day Saturday, so I'll sit down at 10 o'clock Saturday night.
So
and start
long as they have a realistic opportunity. By the way, that could mean like they need to work until 1 or 2 in the morning on Saturday. Saturday going to Sunday, I'm saying. So long as there's a realistic window where they can do the work, but then it's fun. Right? To tell them do it over Saturday.
All you need to do is say, I need this Sunday morning. You don't need to tell them.
Right. And if they
When
choose,
they need to do it.
choose to do it on Saturday during the day, that's but like it's a situation like this, like where it's problematic, because I've outlined it a few times, maybe a couple months back where I drop my car off, my car is asking problem. I drop it off with the mechanic 10 minutes before Shabbos starts. And I tell him, look, I need it tomorrow, basically 10 minutes after Havdalah.
Right.
So I'll be here, right? Let's say it's like the winter time, so they would say, 5, 6 o'clock. And I go forward that, well, it's impossible for them to fix that in 20 minutes. That was not realistic. Then it's also, then I cannot ask them to do that because what I've essentially done is I told them to do work on Shabbos. And it's Doraisa, not
Right, but it's not doing the work that's problems, the Marisayan issues, right?
No. There are two concerns here. There's a Marisayan concern that exists when people make a mistake that the person who actually is allowed to do what they're doing, because let's say I sold the business for a week, it has my name on it, but that's not my business, but people will think it's my business. That's Marisayan. To actually tell the non-Jew to do the work on Shabbos, that's going to be an issue to Rabbanah. That's not just Marisayan, because I told the non-Jew to do, right, like it involves writing, writing is a malacha, involves a mechanic that's going to involve tikkun money, whatever. These are going to be prohibited by rabbinic law. So the answer is to deal with that practically. It's just tell them what needs to get done. You need it by Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. they choose to do it on Saturday, which is probably what they want to do, but is their own choice. They could do it, some people do it.
John,
They work on
you
Saturday
were,
night until 12 o'clock at night.
you were not here when we learned about the concept of the Shabbos Goy. It's not,
I debunked it.
you can't use it. It's,
There's no
yeah.
such thing.
There is in certain contexts, and we will cover it more as we go along. In the shul, it's a much better situation because the Ramah quotes a very large leniency from the Baal HaYitor, which is that when it's mitzvah de rabbin, it's a mitzvah on behalf of the community, then it is mutter. That's why the example he gives, it's the Mishnah Berurah, is if the Eruv wire falls down on Shabbos, now everybody can't carry suddenly, so you're allowed to tell the non-Jew, like, go over to Andre, and Andre say, because I saw
When the
Eruv
lights go
wire-
off in the main shul, you can
same thing, exactly. Lights go off in the main shul. Everybody's trying to enjoy the davening on Shabbos morning. It's a mitzvah to rabbin. So during the people are freezing in the main shul, right? Which is a constant complaint, right? Turning on the heat is a mitzvah d'oraisa. You're talking about the fire is gonna. So you can tell them I'm a Jew, and that's why in the shul. That's why I said it's very tricky because if you look in the shul, you'll see a lot of this happening. But in one's individual life, they're not really necessarily supposed to do this. But there are also other criteria, like if there's I mentioned this before. Look where I do something, and also I do something. I just tell the person to do it. So we have a housekeeper and they're doing dishes for you on Saturday, and there's a Shabbos friendly sponge or whatever, the brush, and then there's a sponge. I didn't tell them how to do dishes, and as long as there was an option available to them to do it in a way that would have been permissible for me, and they choose to do it because they prefer that habit, then that's their own choice, and that will also be permissible in circumstances like that. But if the general rule is if I can't do it, I can't tell them not to. Stop here.
Yes,
Oh, get out of here. Oh, get out of here.